your girl Bilikis. Welcome back to another tutorial. And guess what? Today's tutorial will be on how to make a beautiful flared fitted dress. It's going to be on off the shoulder with 2 layers of full circle sleeve. So just imagine that. So you're going to need a lot of fabric for this because we are going to have full circles for the shoulders, 2 layers. Then beneath the dress we are going to gather some fabric. So I just bought 6 yards of fabric, and I'll be using this to line the upper part alone and then the sleeve. So I'm sure the fabric is nice, isn't it? Yeah. So right now we're going to go to the work table. I have the sketch of what we are going to be making and then the measurement required. And please, if this is your first time, please subscribe. Share the link with your friends because you're going to be stuck to my channel and you learn a lot of things. Follow me on Instagram, Bilikis Signature, and on Facebook, Sewing Innovation. So right now, let's go over to the work table. Yeah. The fabric I'll be using for the dress, and this is the sketch. This is the picture of what we are going to be making. You can see so beautiful and nice. You could have any type of darts. It could be a princess dart. It could be a bustier, whatever you want to have. So it's just a beautiful dress, as you can see. Now going over to the sketch here, so you can see what it looks like. The upper bodies, the skirts, and the skirt has 2 tiers. The first one is the main inline skirts. Then here we have the gathered parts. Then we have the sleeve. We have 2 layers, though you could have just 1 layer. So here we have 2 layers of full circle, but if you don't have much fabric, you could just make it a half circle. And I'll just make sure this part is elastic. So you could make it an off the shoulder, and at the same time you could lift it up to your shoulder. So that's the beauty of the dress. So here, from here to the end of the sleeve is going to be elastic. That's that. Now going over to the measurement required, you need your bust measurement. Here I'll be making use of 44 inches, waist measurement 36 inches, hip 46. Then the total length of the dress, though this is an off the shoulder, but you take from the nape of your neck down to the hem of the dress, which will be 46, total of 46. Then the total length of the bodies, that is this upper part alone, is 18 inches, or probably I'll just make it 17. 17 is fine. Then the first tier of the skirts from here to here, that is 16 inches, while the second, which is the gathered part, is going to be 12. This is going to be 16. So having noted that now, that gives us a total of 28, because 16 plus 12 will give us 28. So this is 28. This is, initially it was 18, so let's say it is 17. If it is 18, so that total up to 46 inches. Then you need your bust span measurement, distance from one nipple to the other. That is because of the dart. We are going to be having a waist dart, and it's still going to come out beautiful. Trust me on that. Another essential measurement you will need is the neckline measurement from here to here for the off the shoulder. And the trick about this is take your measuring tape, measure from one of your bra straps to the other bra strap. So whatever you have will be your neckline measurement. So for me it is 12 inches. So that means on fold I'll have 6. So that is all we need for this. So now let's go to a pattern paper. Here is my pattern paper, and we are about to draft the upper part. I would have drafted on the fabric, but I want a proper feasibility, so that is why I opt for this. On the measurement, I have from the nape to the waist to be 18, but I changed my mind to make use of 17 inches. Here now I have 17. This is the shoulder line, this is the waistline. In between, you are going to need your armhole measurement, ARM. So for me, it is 8.5 inches. Then you need the measurement of the bust point, that is highest part of your hoops. That is 10.5 inches. Then the waist area. Then because it's an off the shoulder, you need to cut off some parts at the upper region. And the minimum you could do is 5 inches, which I have here, as you can see. So this will be the off. That will be the off the shoulder. So now we can start drafting. The first thing I'm going to do is to insert the bust span. So my bust span is 9 inches. According to the measurement on the paper, 9 inches divided by 2, that's going to be 4.5. So from the fold of the paper, I'm going to measure 4.5 on the bust point line and then on the waistline. So that is that. The next thing is to take in the darts. So for a busty person or a plus size person, you can take 3/4 of an inch is fine. But if you are not so busty, you could just make use of 1/2 inch on both sides. Because I'm making for a plus size person, I'll just make it 3/4 of an inch on both sides. The prominency of the bust, 3/4. So I have to connect to the bust point, but here I have to come down by 1 to 1.5. It depends on if the person is busty, you could just make it 1.5, but if you are not so busty, 1 inch is fine. Then I will have to connect it up. The dart is formed. That's the waist dart. Now going to the neckline I explained earlier on. So mine is 6 inches, which I'm just going to mark there. 6 inches. So that's my neckline. Then on the armhole measurement, I will have to insert the bust measurement. The bust measurement we are using is 44. So when you divide that by 4, you have 11 inches. You could add ease to it to make it free. That is totally optional. That is it here. All I have to do now is to connect straight to the neckline. But because this is an off the shoulder, you want some ease around the armhole area. What I'll have to do is to come down by 1/2 inch into the main bodice from the armhole area. So this is half. Then I'll pick my armhole curve to just curve it out. So you could make a slight curve, or you could just draw a straight line. That totally depends on you. So we are done. The next thing to do is to insert the waist measurement. The waist measurement we are making use of here is 38 inches. So when you divide 38 inches by 4, you'll be having 9.5. So, and before I insert the 9.5, remember we have taken in some dart here, so we have to add that back. So 9.5 plus whatever you took out here. So I took 3/4 inch on both sides, which totals to 1.5. So this 1.5 is going to be added to the 9.5 to give me 11 inches. So I'm going to measure 11 inches from the folded part. Then make a straight line to connect here. So we are done with the bodies, and then we'll go to the back. Then don't forget to add your seam allowance too. This is what the front panel looks like, the upper part. So we are going to be cutting this out on the fabric. So let's quickly get over with the back. For the back, I have the same shoulder to waist. The only difference is you need to add 1 inch seam allowance to the back. So that will be for the zip. Next thing, we have the measurement, the vertical measurement, 5 inches for the off the shoulder, then the armhole measurements. That's all you need for the back. I already have the bust span measurement of 4.5 inches at the lower part. For the back, just take 1/2 inch on both sides. That is standard. Half. Then from the armhole, you come down by 1 inch. Connect straight to the 1/2 inch. The dart is formed. Coming to the neckline, you insert the neckline width, the same 6 inches. Please, everything should be after the zipper allowance. Then the bust measurement of 11 inches. forget to come down by half an inch. For the waist, we made use of 9.5. Then take whatever that measurement you took out here, which is 1 inch plus 9.5, that makes it 10.5. So the back is ready. The last thing I'm just going to do is this. To eliminate puffiness, I'm just going to go up by half an inch at the zipper region here. Half an inch. The zipper region is going to make straight. I'm just going to connect from here to the side. So now I can just cut this part off. Then the seam allowance here, I will have to have the seam allowance. Then for the back here, you can decide to just keep it straight, or you could just make it lower. That is totally optional. So what I'm going to do now, so making it lower at the back is half by 5. You could just make it 6 or 7 or 6.5. It totally depends on your preference. So you could just make it straight, or you could make it curve with your hip curve. So it depends on your choice. So you could have it straight like this, or a slight curve. That totally depends. Can you see? So it depends on your choice. So I'm just going to cut out the rest. Remember, if you are using this very one, you need to straighten it out on the zipper region. If maintaining this, it has to be straight on the zipper region. This is what the front and the back looks like. This is the front, this is the back, and I'm going to cut it out on both the fabric and the lining. So let's go over to the skirt, which will be drafting directly on the fabric. I have my fabric folded. I have my fabric folded, as you can see, enough to accommodate the waist measurement plus 7 or 8. So you need to note that. So after doing that, the next thing is this. The first tier here, as I said, the measurement is 16, but I will be making use of 17 because I have changed the measurement of the bodies to 17. So now I'm cutting 17 inches. But here I have 18. Why? Because I'll need half an inch to join this to the upper part, and then half an inch to join this to the gathered fabric. That is why I have 18 inches here. So the next thing now is the waist measurement is 38, and quarter of that is 9.5. So 9.5. Then plus seam allowance 1 inch like we left for the upper part. So that makes it 10.5, which is going to be here. Then I'll come to the lower part and add extra 6 inches to what I have here, to the 10.5. So extra 6 inches will make it 16.5. So I can just make that 17 anyway. And what I have. So this is only for one. I'll be using it to cut the other. Now that is what I have. I will now have to come to the hem here, go up by 1 to 1.25. Then I'll have to connect straight to this point because you don't want it to be too sharp. And use your hip curve. So can you see what I have? Then coming to the upper part here, you can just come up by half an inch too. So it's just going to give it a little bit of a circular effect. So that is it, and then I'll cut out. first tier. So this is what I'll have. So I'll be using this to cut the back. I moved up to the upper part of the fabric, drew a straight line, then mark out a 1-inch line here for the zipper at the back. Then I'm just going to place this aligning with the zipper allowance. So this is the 1-inch zipper allowance. So it matches with the straight line here too, and I'm going to cut it out. This is what we have. This is for the front and this is for the back. So this is the back, as you can see. You could even have a pocket in it. So this is for the front. So now let's cut the lower part. I have cut out the gathered fabric, the fabric that will be used for the gathered area, and I'm going to explain that quickly. So there are 2 ways you could do that. You could just measure the hem of the skirts here. So here I have 17 inches, which is on fold. So that means you can just multiply by minimum of 2 inches or by 3. So for instance, let me say I multiply by 3, I should have 51. So, but remember this was on fold when we measured it out. So that would be 51 times 2, which will give us 102. So let's say 100. So that means we'll be cutting out a strip of fabric by 200, 100 for the front, 100 for the back, so total of 200. But what I just did is this. You know, African print fabric comes by 45 inches in width, while the length goes by 6 yards and so on. So what I just did was to cut by the 45. I just cut out 4. So that means I'll have 45 in 4 places. So 245 for the front, 245 for the back. So that was all I did. So here, that's why I have 2. So this is it by 45. So I just cut out 2. So this will be joined for the front. The same thing for this. I have 2. So that's 45 times 2. For the back, I'm just going to join in at one point, and that was all I did. Then for the, so we already know the length. For the height of the fabric now, going back to our measurement, the height of the second tier is 12 inches. So I made it 13.5. So here I have 13.5. Why? Because you will need half an inch to join to this first tier and 1 inch to hem the lower part. So that is why I have 14 by 45 in 4 places. So 2 for the front, 2 for the back, and that is just that. So I'm going to start sewing up the upper part before we go to the sleeve. So that will be the next stage. So let me quickly explain the front panel. So looking at it, you can see I added all the seam allowance, the armhole, the neckline, the lower parts, everything was added, and I've marked out my darts. You can see. So this is what I have to do, is to take the dart for the lining, for the main fabric, also for this, then the front. I'm going to sew up the dart for the lining separately and also for the main fabric. After that, I'll make sure right side are facing each other. Then I will have to hem the neckline, as you can see. So I will leave the armhole area open because we'll be attaching a sleeve. So let's go over to cut the sleeves. It's time for us to cut out the sleeves. You can either have a full circle or a half circle. That was why I was telling you, you need much fabric for this type of style, but it will be beautiful because the fuller the better. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use a half circle, and I want to cut 2 together. You can either have 2 sleeves on each side or 1. It depends on the fabric you have at hand. So I'm just going to cut 2 together. So I folded along the width of the fabric because this is by 45. So I just want the longest sleeve to be 10 inch, to be 9. Actually, it is 9 inches. So plus seam allowance for both the upper and the lower part. So I'll make it 10 inches. So what I'm now going to do is this 10 inches, and then I'll add extra 5 to 6 inches or 7 to 8 just to make it, because we'll be needing some at the upper part. So after folding that way now, I'm just going to fold again. But if you are folding how I'm folding, you don't need to worry about that because it's going to be enough. So can you see? But let me do that again. Just fold it towards the side later. So what I'm going to do next now is to draw a straight line. Now for a small size person, just measure 4.5 inches this way across. So for a plus size person, 5.5 to 6 is fine. So let me just measure 6. So this is 6. So I have my straight line. I haven't done that. I will now have to insert the length of the sleeve, which is 9 inches, but with seam allowance it is 10. So from the starting point, so to have a full a good circle, so I'm just going to measure 10. This is a 10, so just come to the edge here and measure whatever you have at 10. So this is 18. So I'm now going to keep rotating it to have the 18 inches. Now the circle is formed, so I'll have to cut this out and then this off before we finish it up. So when I'm cutting for the smaller part, I'm going to fold the same way, then whatever length you want it to be. So you could just make it 2.5 inches shorter for the other part. So 2.5 will be here. So you rotate it the same way. What the sleeve looks like now. Can you see that? What I have to do now is to take one of the patterns and then we can map out this armhole area. So what I will do now is to measure between 2.5 to 3 inches inward. 2.5 to 3, so this is 3 inches or 2.5 or 2. Then I will now have to place this. Let me fold in my seam allowance. So place it from the 3 inches or 2.5 and then just mark it out. So now this is what I have and this is what the sleeve will be like. So this part will have an elastic. Can you see? And then this will be attached to the armhole, so you can see how full it's going to be. So I need to cut out one more of this. So I haven't cut this half now, so we have one sleeve. So you can see, so I used about half yard of fabric to cut this. So with 1 yard you can cut 2 of this. So you can just have just one sleeve on your own dress. But I will still, because I have more fabric, still have the shorter one. So I'm going to use this method to cut another one for this and then the shorter one. What I did is to fold back the sleeve we cut out initially, then place it on the folded one. Let me see. And then I'm going to cut it out. I have both sleeves ready now. So this is the one side. So the armhole is going to be like this, and this is going to be off the shoulder like this, elastic, and then this will be joined to the armhole. The same thing for the other side. So I had to cut a smaller one again. So for the amount of fabric I used, I use for the main bodies, I make use of 3.5 inches, while for the sleeves I made use of 1.5 yards. So if you are a small size person, you might not use as much fabric as I use, but it depends on your preference. So now let's go back to the sewing aspect. I have sewn the dart and then the neckline of the main bodies. As you can see what I have. So I took in the dart separately, and you see, then sew up the neckline and notch it to give it a good press. So this is what I have now. So that's the armhole on here. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to sew up the sides. I'm going to sew it separately. So take the lining and then sew that on the wrong side. I left half and 1 inch. So I'm going to sew in 1 inch. Then come into this side, excluding the armhole area. Armhole area. I'm now going to sew up the side here too and do the same for this other side. So let's go to the skirts. So this is what I have now. So this will be for the zipper and this will be the side. So on the wrong side I'm going to sew in 1 inch because that was what I left, and after doing that I will now have to join it to the upper part to have a dress. Then we can fix the gathered fabric and the sleeves. Join the upper bodies to the skirts. So let me show you the back. So this is the back, can you see? So it has been attached. The next thing I'm going to do now is to fix the zipper. First I'll have to close this from the lower part. I want the zipper to stop around here. Can you see? Then I'll sew this on the wrong side 1 inch in, then fix my zipper. After that will I attach it to the gathered fabric. So this is the gathered fabric here. Can you see? I'm still going to loosen it up a little. So this is what I have. So what I'll do now is to join it by the side here, join it by the other side, hem the lower part and attach to this dress to have something like this. Can you see how full it is? So that's how that is going to be. So now going over to the sleeve. I cut out lining for each sleeves. What I'm now going to do is this. I'll make sure I open up my sleeve and then I'm going to sew it this way. So make sure right side are facing each other. I'm now going to take it from one end, half an inch all around to the end. Look at the dress, it looks beautiful already. I've attached the lower part to it and you can see how it looks. It's just so beautiful. I've attached the zipper too. Oh my god, this dress is going to be beautiful. So all I have to do is to hem the lower part now and then attach the sleeve. So the zipper, can you see that, has been attached. So let me quickly explain the sleeves. So this is what I have for the sleeve. So one for each side. Okay, this is it. So what I did was to sew up each separately. I just have to sew up the hem of the circular sleeve and then I placed it on each other. So that means right side of the smaller one facing the left side of the bigger one. So after doing that, I just sew in half an inch all through, and after doing that I now have to place this back on the right side. Then I just have to sew in 3/4 of an inch now on the sleeve. So this will be where my elastic is going to pass through. So it's looking beautiful, can you see? So it's going to be gathered to give it more volume, and this very one is going to be attached to the dress this way. Can you see what I have? So what I'm going to do now is to fix in my elastic. Let me see. The elastic I'm using, I want to show you the measurements. So that's 10 inches. So I have 2 of that. So I'm going to fix in the elastic now and just close it at each end. Then I will now have to attach it to the dress. So it's going to be attached to the dress. So don't forget to close this up. I will have to close this up, then attach the dress, and then I'm going to show you how it looks. It's fully formed and you can just see how beautiful it looks, the upper bodies, and it's just with a waist that. It's not every time you have your dress being padded, yes. So the upper bodies, the skirt and the gathered fabric, and then the sleeve. Can you see? So what I did was to attach it, and you can see I just had to overlock it all down. You could do an inseam finishing, but that is for advanced classes, so you can just make this and look good. So let me show you the back. So this is what the back looks like. It's a bit lower than the front, and you can see the zipper, everything is attached so well. Then the sleeve, it is an off the shoulder, so it should be like this on you, this way. Because it is elastic, you can pull it over your shoulder. That's the beauty of that. If you don't want it to be an off the shoulder, then as I have 2 layers, you can just have one. It's still going to come out nice. What I will do now is to just put it on for you to see how it looks. Can you see my dress? It's just so beautiful, isn't it? Yes. So this is the result of the dress we just made. You can see it's just so beautiful and nice. I like it. So the good thing about it being elastic is you could pull it over your shoulder this way, or just leave it as an off the shoulder. It could even go down depending on how you want that. You could make the sleeve to be just one sleeve, or have a double sleeve like mine, depending on the amount of fabric you have. So make yours and share with us on our Facebook group, Sewing Innovations, and tag me on Instagram, Bilikis Signatures. Yeah, Queen Bee. Yeah. Don't mind me, I have to go now. See ya.